The night was buzzing with excitement. The concert hall was packed with fans who had been waiting for hours, and the air was thick with anticipation. People were laughing, chatting, and taking pictures, trying to capture every moment before the lights dimmed. From the stage, the singer could see the crowd swaying and clapping in rhythm, and he smiled to himself. He loved these moments when energy was high, when the audience was fully alive, and when anything could happen. He had been performing for years, and he knew how to keep the audience entertained. But tonight, he wanted to do something different, something playful, something that would surprise everyone and make them laugh. He scanned the crowd, pretending to look for someone special. His eyes landed on a young girl sitting in the front row. She looked nervous, clutching her small bag tightly, her eyes wide with excitement and curiosity. She was not someone who usually stood out in a crowd, but tonight she did. The singer pointed toward her and smiled. The crowd noticed and cheered, thinking this was part of the show. Then, with a joking tone, he said, "How about we bring someone up here? Let's see if we can find a hidden superstar in the audience." The girl froze for a moment, not sure if he was serious. She had come to watch the concert like everyone else, not to be part of it. Her heart started beating faster, a mixture of fear and excitement swirling inside her. The singer leaned down, still smiling, and said, "Yes, you. Come on up, don't be shy. I promise we'll have some fun." The crowd erupted in laughter and cheers, and the girl's friends whispered encouragement, nudging her to go. She hesitated for a second, looking around at all the faces turned toward her. The lights were bright, and the sound of the cheering audience was almost overwhelming. Finally, with a deep breath, she stood up and made her way to the stage. Every step felt heavier than the last, but there was also a strange thrill in moving closer to the unknown. When she reached the stage, the singer greeted her warmly, patting her on the shoulder in a friendly, reassuring way. "You're brave," he said with a smile. "Don't worry, it's just a little fun." He held out a microphone, and she took it with trembling hands. She could feel the weight of it, both in her hand and in the situation. The crowd was laughing and clapping, expecting a funny or awkward moment. The girl's knees were shaking, and she could hear her own heartbeat, loud and fast. She had never done anything like this before. She didn't even know if she could sing. The singer leaned toward the audience and said, "Let's give her some encouragement. Don't be too hard on her." The crowd laughed again, and some people whistled. The girl's mouth felt dry, but she managed a small smile. She had always loved music, and she had sung quietly to herself many times, but never in front of anyone. Not like this. She thought of her favorite songs, the ones she had practiced in her room, and the little melodies that made her feel safe and happy. She didn't know what would come out, but she knew she wanted to try. The singer, sensing her nervousness, started a playful conversation with her. "So, what's your name?" he asked. She whispered it, barely audible over the cheering. He repeated it loudly to the crowd, who clapped and cheered again. "That's right. Give her a big hand. Everyone, she's about to show us something amazing, or maybe just make us laugh." The audience laughed, thinking it would be funny if she was off-key or shy. The girl's eyes widened at the thought, but she tried to focus on her breathing, just taking it one moment at a time. He asked her if she liked singing, and she nodded quickly. Her voice was soft at first, barely above a whisper. The singer encouraged her, saying, "Don't worry about a thing. Just sing from your heart." The microphone felt heavy, but she raised it closer to her lips. The audience quieted down slightly, sensing something about to happen. The lights on her were bright, and she could see hundreds of eyes watching her. It was terrifying but also strangely thrilling. She started with a simple hum, almost timid, testing the sound. The singer leaned in, nodding and smiling. "That's it, just like that," he whispered to her. She took another deep breath and began a simple melody she knew by heart. Her voice was soft, but there was something special about it, something that made people pay attention. The audience had expected a joke or a silly moment, but they were quiet now, listening carefully. The singer's playful expression softened, and he stood back a little, letting her take the lead. As she continued, her voice grew steadier. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the music flow naturally. The crowd felt it too. It was as if a small, delicate spark had ignited in the room. People leaned forward, curious and surprised, trying to catch every note. The girl didn't realize it, but she was no longer singing for the crowd. She was singing for herself, letting her feelings guide her voice. Every note carried a piece of her, small but powerful, that connected with everyone watching. The singer watched her closely, amazed at the transformation. What had started as a prank, a playful joke to make people laugh, was turning into something entirely different. The girl, who had been shy and hesitant moments ago, was now standing confidently, singing with honesty and emotion. The audience, who had expected a funny or awkward moment, was now captivated, completely silent except for the soft sound of her voice. The energy in the room had changed. It was no longer about a joke or a prank. It was about this young girl and the unexpected beauty of her voice. As the last notes of her melody floated into the air, the audience was silent for a heartbeat, unsure how to react. Then, slowly, a few people clapped, then more, until the entire hall was cheering and applauding wildly. Some people had tears in their eyes, touched by something they hadn't expected. The singer smiled, a mix of pride and astonishment on his face. He walked over and gently took the microphone from her, saying, "See? I told you. There was something amazing in you all along." The girl's cheeks were red, a combination of embarrassment, relief, and joy. She had never felt anything like this before. The prank had turned into a moment she would never forget. Backstage, after the concert, the singer would later say that he had seen talent before, but nothing quite like this. He had meant it as a joke, a playful moment to entertain the crowd, but what he had witnessed was pure and genuine. The girl had stepped out of her comfort zone, faced her fear, and shared a part of herself with the world. And in return, the world had noticed. That night, the girl realized that sometimes, life could surprise you in ways you never expected, and that even the smallest, quietest voice could be heard when given the chance. As she walked off the stage, holding the memory of that moment close, she knew one thing for sure. Her life had changed forever. She didn't know exactly how yet, but she felt it in her heart. A door had opened, a new path had begun, and she had taken the first step onto it, all because she had been brave enough to stand on that stage, even when it had started as just a joke. The girl stepped back from the microphone, feeling a rush of relief mixed with disbelief. She had sung in front of hundreds of people, something she had never imagined herself doing, and the applause had been overwhelming. Back in her seat, she still felt the weight of what had just happened. Her hands were trembling slightly, her heart racing, but inside, there was also a warmth she had never felt before. It was as if singing, even just a few notes, had opened a door she didn't know existed. She couldn't stop thinking about the faces in the crowd, the way people had listened so intently, the way the singer had looked at her with genuine amazement. It had been more than just a performance. It had been a connection. The singer continued performing, moving through his set list with his usual energy, but now he often glanced toward the young girl who had surprised everyone. Sometimes he would gesture toward her, inviting cheers from the crowd, and each time, she felt a little tingle of pride mixed with embarrassment. She wasn't used to this attention, and it was strange to feel both anxious and exhilarated at the same time. As the concert went on, she started to notice something else. People around her were talking quietly, exchanging looks, pointing at her, and whispering excitedly. She realized that something had shifted in the room. Her voice had left an impression, and it wasn't just a moment of fun. It was something that lingered in people's minds. The girl thought about her own life and how she had spent so much time in the background, quietly singing when no one was listening, practicing in her room, or humming to herself on the way to school. She had always loved music, but she never believed that it could mean anything to anyone else. Tonight had been different. Tonight, she had seen the power of her voice, even in its simplest form, and it had moved people in a way she hadn't imagined possible. For the first time, she realized that her music could touch others, and the thought both thrilled and scared her. It made her wonder what might be possible if she had more chances to sing in front of people. Meanwhile, the singer finished his performance and stepped forward to talk to the audience. He praised the crowd for their energy and thanked them for coming. But he also made sure to bring attention back to the girl on stage. He recounted the moment he had invited her up, the joke that had turned into something extraordinary, and how her voice had caught everyone by surprise. The audience erupted in applause once more, and the girl felt a blush rise to her cheeks. She had not expected to be praised like this, not in front of so many people, and the sudden attention made her heart beat faster. She tried to hide behind her hands for a moment, laughing nervously, but the singer smiled and encouraged her to embrace it. After the concert, the girl was approached by several people who wanted to talk to her. Some were fans who had been touched by her voice. Others were curious about who she was and how she had learned to sing so beautifully. She found herself smiling and answering questions, trying to stay calm even though she was still processing everything that had happened. One older woman told her that she had a gift, a natural talent that needed to be nurtured and shared. The girl had never thought of herself that way, and the compliment made her both happy and anxious. Could she really sing like that? Could her voice really make a difference? The singer, noticing her growing confidence, pulled her aside to speak privately. He told her that he had been surprised by her voice, that it had a raw beauty and honesty that was rare to find. He encouraged her to keep singing and to not let fear stop her from sharing her talent. He spoke gently but firmly, as if planting a seed of belief in her mind. The girl listened carefully, absorbing every word. She realized that this wasn't just about a single performance. It was about a new possibility, a chance to step into a life she hadn't dared to imagine before. Over the next few days, the girl replayed the concert in her mind countless times. She thought about the lights, the crowd, the way her voice had sounded, and the way people had reacted. Every time she remembered it, she felt a mix of awe and disbelief. She also began to notice something unexpected. People around her started treating her differently. Friends at school asked her about the concert. Strangers recognized her from social media clips, and even her family seemed to see her in a new light. It was strange to feel so visible, so noticed, after having spent most of her life blending into the background. But she realized that she liked it at least a little. She liked knowing that her voice had the power to make people stop, listen, and feel. The girl also began to think about what had led her to this moment. She remembered the long hours she had spent practicing alone, the times she had felt discouraged or insecure about her talent, and the small victories she had celebrated in private. She realized that all of those moments had prepared her for this unexpected opportunity. The joke on stage had become a turning point, but it had also highlighted the years of dedication and love for music that no one else had seen. She felt a quiet pride in herself, a sense of accomplishment that was entirely her own. One evening, she received a message from the singer. He wanted to meet her again, to talk about future opportunities, and to encourage her to continue singing. The girl felt a wave of excitement and nervousness at the same time. She had never imagined that a single performance, starting as a prank, could lead to something so important. She thought about how life had a way of surprising people, how a moment of courage could open doors that had seemed impossible to reach. She realized that she was ready to step through those doors, even if it meant facing more fear and uncertainty. The girl's journey was just beginning. She started practicing more intentionally, exploring new songs, and learning to control her voice in ways she hadn't tried before. She also began to share her singing with a small group of friends and family, gaining confidence in the process. Every time she sang, she remembered the feeling of standing on that stage, the rush of emotions, and the way the audience had reacted. It became a source of strength, a reminder that she had something special inside her that could touch others. As the days turned into weeks, she found herself thinking less about the prank and more about the music itself. The joke that had brought her to the stage had served its purpose, but now the focus was on her talent and what she could do with it. She began to imagine performing in front of larger audiences, recording songs, and sharing her voice with the world. The idea no longer seemed impossible or frightening. Instead, It felt like a path she was meant to explore. Through it all, the girl learned an important lesson. She realized that sometimes life presents unexpected opportunities, moments that appear small or playful at first, but carry the potential to change everything. The key was to be brave enough to take those chances, to step into the unknown, and to trust in oneself. Her time on stage had been one such moment. It had started as a joke, a prank meant to entertain, but it had revealed a talent and a courage she hadn't fully known she possessed. And in that revelation, she had discovered a new part of herself, one that was ready to grow, to sing, and to embrace the possibilities ahead. Days passed since the concert, but the memory of standing on the stage lingered in the girl's mind like a vivid dream she could not forget. Each morning, she woke up thinking about the bright lights, the cheering crowd, and most of all, the feeling of holding the microphone and letting her voice fill the room. She found herself humming the same melody she had sung that night, almost without thinking, and felt a strange mixture of joy and longing. It was as if a part of her had been awakened, a part she had hidden away for so long that she had almost forgotten it existed. School life had returned to its usual rhythm, but it felt different to her now. The hallways, classrooms, and familiar faces seemed smaller somehow, almost like the world she had known was now part of a larger stage she had glimpsed once and could not stop thinking about. Friends who had been unaware of her quiet passion for singing now looked at her with curiosity, sometimes with admiration. A few of them whispered about the concert, replaying the clips they had seen online, and she could feel the surprise in their voices. They had not known she had this side to her, and the attention was strange but exciting. At home, she spent hours at her little keyboard, experimenting with notes, rhythms, and melodies she had never dared to try before. Her parents, who had always encouraged her to enjoy music but never pressured her to perform, watched her with gentle smiles, noticing a new spark in her eyes. They could see that something had shifted inside her, that the stage experience had opened a door to a deeper confidence. The girl herself felt it. The thrill of creating music, of giving life to sounds that seemed to come from a place inside her she hadn't fully explored. She realized that music was not just something she liked. It was something she needed, something that spoke for her when words alone could not. Meanwhile, the singer who had invited her on stage had not forgotten her either. He called her a few days later and arranged a meeting not just to talk, but to help guide her in ways he had seen young talents need. When they met, he was warm and encouraging, listening to her recount the experience, her fears, and her excitement. He asked her questions about the songs she liked, what inspired her, and what she hoped to do next. For the girl, the conversation was eye-opening. She had never thought about her music as something that could lead to opportunities beyond herself. And now she was hearing it from someone who had seen her touch hundreds of hearts. They spent the afternoon exploring songs together. The singer suggested small exercises to strengthen her voice and techniques to express emotion more clearly. He encouraged her to tell stories through her music, to let her own feelings guide each note. She listened intently, absorbing every word, every tip, every gesture. She realized that talent alone was not enough. It was also about discipline, practice, and the courage to share herself honestly. With his guidance, she started to see her potential more clearly and began to imagine what she could achieve with dedication and focus. The girl's evenings became filled with practice and reflection. She tried different songs, some simple, some more challenging, testing her range and discovering the emotions she could convey. She recorded herself, listened critically, and made small improvements. Each day, her voice grew stronger and more confident, and so did her belief in herself. The memory of the audience's reaction that night became a source of inspiration. She wanted to feel that connection again, to move people not just with notes, but with the emotion behind them. As she practiced, she also began to think about the responsibility that came with having a voice that could move people. She understood that music was not just entertainment. It could touch lives, comfort hearts, and make people feel less alone. This realization gave her a deeper sense of purpose. She no longer wanted to sing just for herself. She wanted her music to be a bridge to others, to carry feelings that words alone could not express. The thought filled her with both excitement and humility. Her friends noticed the changes too. They started asking her to sing at small gatherings, at school events, and even during casual hangouts. At first, she felt nervous about each request, but gradually, she embraced the moments, drawing confidence from the practice she had been doing alone. She began to notice the same effect she had seen on that stage, the way people listened intently, the way silence often fell as her voice filled the room. Each time, she felt a little more in control, a little more at ease, and a little more connected to the power of her own voice. Social media had also started to play a role in her journey. Clips from the concert had been shared widely, and she had received messages from people who had been moved by her singing. Some were short and simple, expressing surprise or admiration, while others told stories of how her voice had touched them deeply. The girl read each message carefully, feeling a mixture of humility and gratitude. She realized that her voice, once hidden and private, had begun to reach beyond the walls of her school and home. She was starting to understand that music could travel further than she had imagined, and it could touch lives in ways that were meaningful and profound. One day, she received an invitation from a small recording studio that had seen the clips online. They wanted to meet her, hear her sing, and discuss possible opportunities. The girl felt a surge of excitement, quickly followed by nerves. The idea of recording her voice, of stepping into a professional environment, was daunting. But she remembered the stage, the microphone, and the applause. She remembered the thrill of sharing her voice and the way it had connected with the audience. She realized that fear and excitement often went hand in hand, and she felt ready to take this next step. When she arrived at the studio, the environment was completely new to her. Microphones, mixing equipment, and sound panels surrounded her. At first, she felt overwhelmed, unsure of how to act or where to start. But the engineers and staff were kind and encouraging. They asked her to sing a few lines, just to get a feel for her voice, and she hesitated only briefly before letting her voice flow. The sound was different in the studio, more intimate, more precise, and she felt a strange mix of self-consciousness and exhilaration. But as she continued, her confidence grew. She remembered the lessons from the singer, the way she had learned to express emotion, and she let herself feel the music fully. Each note became a reflection of her journey, her fears, and her hope. After the session, the girl felt a mixture of pride and exhaustion. It had been intense, challenging, and revealing. She realized that her journey was just beginning, that the prank on stage had been only the first step in discovering her voice, her talent, and her own courage. The experience at the studio showed her that opportunities could come in unexpected forms, and that the key was to be prepared, willing, and brave enough to embrace them. The girl's life continued to change gradually. Every time she sang, whether at home, in school, or in new environments, she felt the connection between herself and her audience. She understood that music was not just about notes or melodies. It was about sharing a part of oneself, being vulnerable, and trusting that others would feel it too. And with each new experience, her confidence and skill grew, forming a foundation for a future that seemed both exciting and full of possibilities. She often thought back to the moment when she had first been invited on stage as a joke. That memory was no longer just a funny story. It was the beginning of a transformation. It had awakened something inside her, a realization of what she could do, and a glimpse of the power she had in her own voice. The girl knew that this was only the start, and that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, learning, and growth. But she also knew that she was ready, that she had discovered a part of herself that could rise to the occasion, touch hearts, and maybe even change lives. And that thought filled her with hope, determination, and an excitement she had never known before. Weeks passed since the girl had first been on stage, but the memory of that night never left her. Each time she thought about it, her heart still raced with a mixture of excitement and awe. The experience had changed her in ways she didn't fully understand yet. She found herself thinking about music constantly, about the power of a single voice to move people, and about the possibilities that lay ahead. The attention she had received had been overwhelming at first, but gradually, she learned to embrace it. She realized that sharing her talent could be a gift not just to herself, but to others. the girl began receiving invitations to perform at small local events. At first, these were simple gatherings, school functions, and community programs. She felt nervous each time, her palms sweaty and her heart pounding. But with every performance, she noticed the same effect she had seen on that stage. The way people listened, the way silence fell over a room when she sang, and the way eyes glistened with emotion. She realized that each note she sang carried a piece of herself, and that by sharing it, she could make others feel something real and meaningful. The thrill of connecting with an audience became addictive, and she longed for it more and more. One evening, after a small concert at a local event, she received a call from a music producer who had seen the viral clips online. He wanted to meet her, talk about potential opportunities, and hear her sing in a professional setting. The girl was nervous but excited. She had never imagined that the joke on stage could lead to something like this. As she prepared for the meeting, she practiced diligently, focusing on her voice, her expression, and the emotions she wanted to convey. She knew this could be a turning point, and she wanted to be ready. The meeting at the studio was intimidating at first. The producer asked her to sing several songs, some familiar, some new, and he gave her feedback on everything, from her pitch and tone to her stage presence and emotional delivery. The girl listened carefully, absorbing every suggestion and learning to understand her voice better. She realized that talent alone was not enough. It required effort, practice, and a willingness to improve constantly. With each note, she felt more confident and more connected to the music, and by the end of the session, she felt a sense of accomplishment she had never known. Following that meeting, the girl was invited to perform at a charity event organized by a local community group. This was a larger stage with more people and a more formal setting. She felt a familiar wave of nerves as she stepped onto the stage, holding the microphone tightly in her hand. But as she began to sing, those nerves melted away, replaced by a feeling of calm focus. She let the music guide her, letting her emotions flow naturally, and the audience responded with the same quiet attentiveness she had seen before. When she finished, the applause was louder and longer than anything she had experienced previously. She felt a warmth in her chest, knowing she had moved people in a real and meaningful way. The girl began to understand the responsibility that came with having a voice that could affect others so profoundly. She knew that singing was more than just entertainment. It could comfort people, make them think, and even inspire them. This realization motivated her to work harder, to explore more songs, and to push herself to new levels. She started taking voice lessons, learning techniques to strengthen her range and control, and experimenting with different genres to expand her abilities. Every day, she felt herself growing stronger, more confident, and more capable of sharing her gift with the world. Her family and friends watched her transformation with pride. They had always known she loved music, but they were now seeing her develop into a confident performer, someone who could captivate an audience with nothing but her voice. The girl appreciated their support, but she also understood that the journey was ultimately hers to navigate. Each performance, each practice session, and each new opportunity was a step in discovering not just her talent, but herself. Social media continued to play a role in her rising recognition. Clips of her performances were shared widely, and people from different places reached out to express how much her singing had touched them. She read the messages with a mix of humility and gratitude, realizing that her voice was reaching beyond her immediate surroundings. It was no longer just about performing for the people in the room. Her music had the power to travel further, to connect with strangers, and to leave a lasting impact. This realization was both exciting and daunting, but she embraced it fully. One day, the singer who had invited her on stage as a joke contacted her again. He wanted to collaborate on a project, offering guidance and support to help her take her talent to the next level. The girl felt a surge of excitement and gratitude. She remembered the first time she had stood on stage, unsure of herself, and marveled at how far she had come. This new opportunity represented another step forward, a chance to grow and explore her abilities in ways she had never imagined. The collaboration involved songwriting, vocal coaching, and learning how to express herself more deeply through her music. The singer encouraged her to draw from her personal experiences, her emotions, and the stories she wanted to tell. Through this process, the girl discovered a deeper connection to her art. She realized that singing was not just about notes and melodies. It was about conveying a story, sharing a piece of herself, and creating a bond with the audience. Each practice session and recording became an opportunity to explore her emotions, refine her skills, and build her confidence. As the girl continued to perform and collaborate, she began to notice changes in herself beyond her musical abilities. She felt more confident in everyday life, more willing to take risks, and more open to new experiences. The courage she had shown on that first stage had planted a seed that continued to grow. She understood that bravery was not about never feeling fear. It was about facing fear and stepping forward anyway. Music had given her a platform, but it had also given her strength and self-belief. The girl also learned the importance of gratitude and humility. She recognized that her journey was supported by the people around her. The singer who had given her a chance, her family who encouraged her, and the audiences who had listened and responded to her voice. She made an effort to stay grounded, remembering where she had started and the simple joy of singing that had always been at the heart of her passion. This balance of confidence and humility allowed her to grow without losing sight of what truly mattered. Through all of this, the girl realized that her story was more than just about music. It was about transformation, courage, and the unexpected ways life can change when one is willing to embrace opportunities. The prank on stage had been the spark, but it was her talent, dedication, and willingness to take risks that had allowed her to continue on this path. She understood that life could offer surprising moments that could alter the course of one's journey forever, and she felt ready to meet those moments with an open heart and a brave spirit. By the end of this period, the girl was no longer the shy, hesitant person who had nervously stepped onto the stage as part of a joke. She had grown into a young performer with confidence, skill, and a deep understanding of her own voice. Her music had begun to touch people's hearts in ways she had only dreamed of, and she was ready to continue exploring the possibilities ahead. She knew that there would be challenges and obstacles, but she also knew that she had the courage, talent, and determination to face them. The girl often reflected on that first night, realizing that the prank had been a turning point, a moment that had opened her eyes to what she was capable of. It had been unexpected, unplanned, and initially frightening, but it had revealed a hidden strength and talent she had never fully recognized. And as she looked forward to the future, she carried with her the knowledge that sometimes life's greatest opportunities come in the most surprising forms, and that bravery, practice, and heart could turn a single moment into the start of an extraordinary journey. The girl had come a long way since the night she had been invited on stage as a joke. That moment, which had once seemed so small and fleeting, had blossomed into a journey that had transformed her life. She had learned to embrace her voice, explore her talent, and share herself with others in ways she had never imagined. Every performance, every practice session, and every new opportunity had helped her grow, not just as a singer, but as a person. By now, she had performed in a variety of settings, from small school gatherings to community events, to professional studios and local concerts. Each experience brought its own challenges and rewards. She had learned how to manage her nerves, how to convey emotion through her voice, and how to connect with people in a way that made her music meaningful. The thrill of performing was no longer frightening. It was a source of joy, a way to express the thoughts and feelings she had carried inside for so long. The girl had also begun to understand the responsibility that came with her talent. Her voice could touch people deeply, and she felt a duty to use it thoughtfully. She wanted every song she sang to carry honesty, emotion, and meaning. She realized that music could comfort those who were struggling, inspire those who felt hopeless, and bring happiness to those who needed it. This sense of purpose gave her a new perspective on her journey. It was no longer just about personal achievement. It was about connecting with others and making a difference through her music. Social media continued to amplify her reach. Clips of her performances went viral, and people from different cities and even countries began following her journey. Messages poured in from fans who were inspired by her courage, touched by her singing, or motivated to pursue their own dreams. The girl read each message carefully, feeling a mixture of gratitude, humility, and determination. She realized that her talent could create ripples far beyond what she had ever imagined, and she wanted to honor that gift with dedication and care. The singer who had invited her on stage stayed involved in her growth. They met regularly to collaborate, discuss songs, and refine her performances. His guidance helped her navigate the professional world of music, teaching her the nuances of stage presence, vocal technique, and emotional delivery. More importantly, he offered encouragement and support, reminding her to stay grounded and true to herself. The girl valued this mentorship deeply, knowing that her journey had been shaped by both opportunity and guidance. As she continued to perform, she began to receive invitations to larger events. Each new opportunity was both exciting and challenging. The venues were bigger, the audiences more diverse, and the stakes higher. But she approached each performance with the same mindset she had developed over the past months. Focus on the music, express her emotions honestly, and connect with the audience. The results were always remarkable. People listened intently, some moved to tears, others smiling and nodding along, and she could feel the energy of the crowd responding to her voice. Each performance reinforced her confidence and her belief in the power of music. The girl's personal growth extended beyond her music. She became more confident in her interactions with others, more willing to take risks, and more resilient in the face of challenges. The courage she had shown on that first stage had sparked a transformation that influenced every aspect of her life. She began to see opportunities where she had once seen obstacles and to approach new experiences with curiosity and determination. She realized that bravery was not about never feeling fear, but about facing fear and moving forward despite it. One day, she was invited to perform at a major event with a large audience that included music industry professionals, producers, and fans from all over. As she stepped onto the stage, memories of her first experience flooded back. The bright lights, the cheering crowd, the nerves, and the uncertainty. But this time she felt ready. She took a deep breath, held the microphone firmly, and let her voice flow. Each note was filled with emotion, precision, and passion. The audience was captivated. Silence fell over the crowd as they listened, and when she finished, the applause was thunderous. People were visibly moved, some wiping tears from their eyes, others cheering with pure admiration. The girl felt a sense of fulfillment and joy she had never known. She realized that her voice had truly found its place in the world. After the performance, she received recognition from several music professionals who expressed interest in working with her further. Invitations to collaborate, record, and perform kept coming, and each opportunity was a new step forward in her career. She remained humble, remembering where she had started and the journey that had brought her here. The prank on stage had been a moment of chance, but her dedication, passion, and courage had turned it into a life-changing path. She understood that success was not just about talent, but also about perseverance, growth, and staying true to oneself. As her journey continued, the girl also found joy in inspiring others. She shared her story of how a simple, unexpected moment had transformed her life. She encouraged young people to embrace their passions, face their fears, and take chances when opportunities appeared. She knew that not every moment would lead to instant recognition, but she wanted others to understand the importance of trying, learning, and growing. Her story became a source of motivation for many, showing that courage and talent, even when discovered unexpectedly, could change lives. Over time, she realized that the journey was as important as the destination. Every performance, every practice, every challenge she faced contributed to her growth as an artist and as a person. She had learned to embrace both success and failure, to find lessons in every experience, and to approach life with a mix of determination, humility, and gratitude. The girl understood that her voice was not just a gift, but a responsibility, a tool to connect, to inspire, and to touch hearts. Looking back, she saw how far she had come from that nervous, shy girl who had stepped on stage as part of a joke. The journey had been unexpected, challenging, and transformative. It had taught her courage, self-belief, and the power of sharing one's true self. She had discovered a talent that could move people, a passion that could guide her, and a path that could lead to incredible opportunities. Most importantly, she had learned that life often presents chances in the most surprising ways, and that embracing those moments with bravery and heart could change everything. In the end, the girl's story was not just about music or talent. It was about growth, courage, and the power of being true to oneself. The prank on stage had been the spark, but it was her dedication, resilience, and willingness to embrace opportunity that had shaped her journey. She knew that her path would continue to unfold, filled with new experiences, challenges, and moments of joy. And as she sang, she carried with her the knowledge that her voice had the power to touch hearts, inspire change, and leave a lasting mark on the world. She had discovered herself, her talent, and her potential, and the future was hers to shape, one note at a time.